Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the first episode of Pokemon Evolutions has dropped, and it is a good one. For those unaware, Pokemon Evolutions is a mini-series that's going to be released by Pokemon starting now all the way through December, going through the different generations and picking a moment from each generation and expanding upon it by looking at it from the perspective of someone. In this episode, it was the final battle in Galar against Eternatus from the perspective of Leon. Similar to Twilight Wings, it tries to fill in events that we didn't get to see when we were playing the game, and in this situation, it tries to give us the perspective of Leon after the event is over but before his match against you, the player. This episode has a wonderful contrast between the fans going nuts over Leon and Leon's thoughts on the situation. We see that just before he brought out his Charizard, he was fighting Eternatus with his Aegislash who got KO'd. Then, when he brought out his Charizard, he was able to KO Eternatus, and that's when we walk up to him in the game, him ready to throw a Pokeball. However, as we all know if you played the game, he fails, and he's set to the sideline while you, the player character, and Hop, along with Zacian and Zamazenta, help defeat Eternamax Eternatus. And it's really interesting looking at the way Leon is portrayed here. He's not presented as the super cocky and confident champion like he is in the game. Quite the opposite, in fact. He's shown here to be nervous and really reflecting on that moment of him failing and how that might affect him in the upcoming match. When he accidentally brings out his Charizard, it looks like his Charizard is also upset at him before Charizard gives him the confidence he needs to come out and have the confidence that he does in the game. There isn't a lot of dialogue here though, so a lot of this is just based on facial expressions and what we see, and it's interesting. To the people I've talked to, they say that from the 3 or 4 Leons we've seen so far, people are saying Twilight Wings is the best one, but people are saying this is the second best one. And I think it's because it shows him as a normal person. It shows him as vulnerable. In his most intimate moment, he's not being venerated or celebrated. He's reflecting on the fact that he lost, and now the challenger he's going to face up against won. It's interesting to look at, and it really gives him a very realistic human characterization. One far, far superior to what we ever got in the games. And honestly, even more so than Twilight Wings. Now, besides the story itself, the other good thing about this episode is the art. Funnily enough, not the animation, and I think that's due to the art. The art has a very distinct style. I would call it almost JoJo-ish, but I don't know if that's fair or not. But regardless, the art has a lot of details on it. But because of that, the art style really constricts what you could do animation-wise because you can't be as fluid so that you can keep all the details on the character. Even the Pokemon battle animation, while we got a couple of cool shots, weren't that particularly good. I would say they weren't even as good as some of the things we get on Poketoons, but what this really does highlight is just focusing on the characters itself, and I think due to that, the animation in this episode is not as important. Everyone in this episode looks fantastic. Leon looks fantastic, Charizard looks the most intimidating I've ever seen it look, Hop looks fantastic, and Victor, whatever your player character that you named, looks fantastic. For the most part, everything besides the animation looks amazing. My only worry though is that this episode didn't have a lot of dialogue, and that was fine, but hopefully the other episodes do. Or we have to get something completely different from the games, because a lot of perspectives that this might show, you could tell from the game. For example, I know we're gonna get a Lily episode, and even though in the game she doesn't say that she's determined, you can tell without really any words that she's determined to get her mother back, even after everything that's happened. You don't need explicit dialogue to tell you so, but in this case, if they add dialogue, maybe we can learn something that we didn't know about before. I hope that this series is able to give us new perspectives on things rather than rehashing things that we already know from the games. That's just my biggest worry. Other than that, this was a fantastic episode and I can't wait for the next one. But that is it for my review of episode 1 of Evolutions. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe. In the comments, let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can follow me on Twitter at PdGaming, and that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.